What's up guys, thanks for stopping by, I hope you're doing good. Today's video is going to be about how to get better at PUBG. Thanks for tuning in, let's jump into it. Okay, so there are 6 basic things that will help any player of any level in PUBG get better. Number 1, aim training. So when it comes to aim trainers, I personally recommend Kovac to the meta. I think this is probably the best aim trainer out there, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking to get better at PUBG. There are tons of really good aim trainers, don't get me wrong, so if you personally prefer something else, you can just go with that. If you were to ask me for another recommendation of aim trainer that isn't Kovac's, my second recommendation would be Aim Beast. But either way, the point is, every time you sit down to play PUBG, or at least most of the time when you sit down to play PUBG, if you want to improve, you should be starting out with a little aim training. Now, you can do this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. If you're not making some kind of content, I'd recommend just doing it for as long as you can. Or if you're preparing for a tournament maybe, I'd recommend you just do it for as long as you can handle. But even just 10 to 20 minutes a day before you actually start gaming is going to make the world of difference when it comes to your aim. The thing is, when you're playing in game and you're trying to just improve your aim by just going for headshots or trying to just be more accurate in the moment, you're just simply never going to get as many repetitions as doing a challenge in Kovac's. It's just not possible. If you think of every single one of these balls that you're clicking on screen as a player's head, what situation in PUBG do you ever get when you get this many heads to click on? You just don't. So the reason an aim trainer helps is just, it's a really fast way to get a lot of reps and just practicing your raw aim. The other thing that you should bear in mind with the aim trainer is that I don't recommend just diving in and doing any old challenge. Now, any challenge is possible would help, but what I would recommend to look for is one challenge that focuses on 2 targets on 1 wall with some small flicks. The reason you want this is because you kind of want one kind of challenge that's gonna improve your reaction time and be more catered for close quarters fights, and you're also gonna want another Kovac's challenge that's catered towards more long distance shots and accuracy. So for that one, I still would recommend 1 wall, but you might want a lot more targets, a lot bigger flicks, and a lot smaller targets as well. So I use 1 wall, 2 targets, small flicks, and I also use another one called 1 wall, 6 targets, extra small. You don't necessarily have to use any of the challenges I recommend, but what I would recommend doing if you're not going to use these specific challenges is try and find another PUBG player, try and find another streamer that you know uses an aim trainer on the stream or to warm up before they start playing, and just ask them what challenges they use to warm up, because there are some challenges that are much less useful than others. And there are also challenges for things like tracking, which I would argue you don't actually need an aim trainer to work on something like tracking. That is something that you can do in TDM or something like that. Again, I just want to summarize, the point in an aim trainer is to work on your raw aim. Doing this for a small amount of time, every time you play PUBG, or at least most times you play PUBG, is going to give you so many more reps on just clicking heads than you could ever get from any game mode in any game. And therefore, your aim is going to improve way faster if you use an aim trainer. Before we move on, there is one essential thing when it comes to aim training. You have to match your sense. You need the exact same in-game sense in your aim trainer that you use in PUBG. Now, something like Kovac's does have options for Apex, so you can match your Apex sense just by typing it in, but there isn't one for PUBG. But there are many websites and services that allow you to convert your PUBG sense to other in-game sense, and there is actually a free one you can check out. I'll leave a link in the description, and this free website allows you to convert it from PUBG to Apex. Then you can put those Apex values into Kovac's. I will also leave another link in the description to another paid service for converting sense, which I highly recommend everybody use as well if they're really going to get serious about playing FPS games. So now it's time for number 2, training mode. When it comes to training mode, I have a very specific routine. I jump in, get a level 3 bag, go straight to get an AK, then I slap an extended mag on it, and I fill that level 3 backpack with ammo. I want as much ammo as possible. Then, starting with just an iron sight, I start practicing my full sprays. The most important part of this stage is to make sure you're actually practicing your full spray. I see a lot of players jump into training mode, they're practicing moving quickly and snapping onto players and peaks and stuff like that, which was all well and good before we got Team Deathmatch, because right now, Team Deathmatch is really the perfect place to really work on those kind of micros and stuff. But the number one advantage training mode has is that this is a place you can spend as much ammo as you want and as much time as you want working on your sprays. So where I used to do a lot more micro stuff, a lot more lean peeking, a lot more jiggling and stuff, now I really just focus on just the raw full spray and spraying full mags until my inventory is empty. So starting with iron sight, I empty out a full level 3 bag of 7.62. Once I've emptied out that bag, I move on to the red dot. And once I've got the red dot, I do the exact same thing, but I start to try and move further and further away from the target. Once I've been using the red dot and I've emptied out all of my ammo, I then move on to a 2x scope and I do the same thing again. I start a little bit closer to the target and I focus on doing those full extended mag sprays. And once each mag is empty, I step a little bit further back and a little bit further back and a little bit further back until I feel like I really have gotten to the maximum viable distance of each scope. And then once that backpack is empty, I do the exact same thing with a 3x scope, a 4x scope, and a 6x scope. And I do this process each time with a full level 3 backpack. This way, you're going to end up using thousands of rounds, getting tons and tons of reps for your spray patterns. Just like how with aim training, you can get so many more reps on clicking heads than you could ever get in any game mode. In training mode, you can get so many more reps on sprays than you can doing anything else. There's just simply no way you can really get all that spray practice in Team Deathmatch or in normal games. Anyway, once I've gone from iron sight, red dot, 2x, 3x, 4x, 6x, with a full backpack of 7.62 every time and used every single round before moving on to the next scope. Once I've done that with the AK, I start doing the exact same thing with the barrel. The reason I'm doing this with these two guns specifically is for the longest time, these two guns had the most complicated recoil pattern, the most difficult recoil to control at range. Now you could really argue that the barrel is probably not that difficult, and there's now a serious argument for doing this with the M4 as well. So if you really want to, you could also throw in the M4 or replace the barrel with the M4, replace the AK with the M4. But the main point is to start with two guns that have difficult recoil and just focus on long range sprays with every scope, and make sure you're always doing those full sprays, because if you just run around bursting on people, sort of pretending like you're in a TDM, you're going to waste a lot of time and not really get as much practice doing full sprays as you could if you just stood still and just focused on the sprays. So I really can't stress this enough. Practice, practice, practice with the iron sight. Don't skip iron sight. You're going to have to use iron sight all the time in the game. Don't skip any scope. You're going to have to use all the scopes in the game, and make sure you're just standing still, leaning and focusing on doing full sprays, because this is really where you're going to improve your scope sprays. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the third thing that will make you better at PUBG, Team Deathmatch. Okay, so a TDM is probably the simplest thing to explain on this list when it comes to how it's going to make you improve. There's no other game mode in PUBG where you respawn. First of all, there are 3 things in TDM that you should be doing if you want to improve at PUBG. Number 1, you should be trying to frag out. Just fly in. This is the only chance you get to play PUBG with fast respawns like this. So you should never be playing careful. You should just be flying in, completely trying to frag out and get as many kills as possible. Constantly send it. Really push yourself. Try and get more kills than anyone else in the lobby. The second thing that I would highly recommend everybody do in TDM is try and work on your micros. So when I say micros, this is really a subject that could be a video all on its own. But what I'm talking about is little tiny techniques, little tiny strategies, little tiny things that you can do with the gameplay to handle different situations correctly or most effectively, or just in a way that's going to catch your opponents off guard. So it could literally just be anything. It's essentially anything that makes up your gameplay. So this is actually the place, not in training mode, where if you want to improve, you should be trying to change targets really quickly. You should be trying to lean peek all the time. You should be trying to jiggle peek. Is there something you're trying to work on specifically right now in your gameplay? TDM is the place to do it. Maybe you don't lean enough to reduce the recoil. Maybe you actually lean too much and therefore miss easy shots because you're actually spraying diagonally instead of in a straight line. Maybe you're crouching too much and messing up your sprays. Maybe you're sprinting too much and therefore increasing your ADS speed at a crucial time. TDM is perfect for working on all this stuff. The third thing that you absolutely must practice in TDM is DMRs. Kovacs and training mode don't really offer a good way to practice with your DMRs, so using DMRs as much as you can in TDM is a really good idea. Even if it's close quarters, it could be a good idea to start working on those SLR sprays. But just make sure whenever you're doing any of the things on this list, you're using the situation to your advantage. So, for example, if you're in TDM, make sure you practice with DMRs because there's nowhere else you can work on DMRs. If you're in training mode, make sure you work on your sprays because you're never going to get a bigger opportunity to work on your sprays. Again, if there's anything specific about your gameplay that you're trying to improve, you should play TDM and consciously focus on that one thing and trying to improve it. The fourth thing that will help you improve at PUBG is one-man squads. The true benefit of one-man squads in this game when it comes to trying to improve is practicing hot dropping and fighting multiple targets at the same time. The greatest feeling in PUBG might be getting the chicken dinner, but the second greatest feeling is a nice crispy squad wipe. So that's what we're grinding for here. We're looking to hot drop, contest a lot of players and try and get as many squad wipes as possible. Fighting multiple targets at the same time when you know you're outnumbered is maybe the number one thing that's going to pressure you to get better. You have no choice but to just get better when playing one-man squads. It's brutal, it's grueling, you'll die a lot, but you will improve because you simply will have to improve in order to deal with fighting multiple people at the same time and constantly being outnumbered. The number one way you will improve the fastest playing one-man squads is by hot dropping and contesting squads and fighting them right away. If you don't want to grind for the win because it's going to be too grueling, that's fine. Just aim to at least get a squad wipe. If you get a nice squad wipe on a hot drop, or if you win the hot drop, you can just leave if you want, or you can try and play it out and win. You will improve. If you can win one-man squad, you can easily win solos. But I understand that not every player is going to want to grind the one-man squad win, but everyone should be trying to at least do one-man squad hot drops and just get a few squad wipes. It's really going to improve your mechanical skill, and you're really going to see what you're capable of under pressure. My personal favorite maps for one-man squads are actually Sandhook and Karakin, purely because you can get games fast, and just the layout of the map means that no matter what the flight path is, there's probably going to be a hot drop near the beginning of the flight path. So normally if I'm doing one-man squads, I'm going to maybe play them for like an hour at the start of the stream, maybe a couple of hours, but usually I'm looking for a lot of quick fights. So I want an early drop and I want it to be contested. And on the bigger maps, sometimes you're just not contested and you can't get the 1v4 fights that you want. And I personally find that by playing Karakin and Sandhook, just because of the layout of the map, and there's essentially on Karakin all the cities and essentially all four corners, and on Sandhook you've got camps in all four corners and in the middle, it just means you can more consistently get fights and start grinding them 1v4s that I'm really looking for. When you're grinding 1v4s, it's not just about the squad wipe. You're practicing really fast target transition and you're forcing yourself to make decisions quickly. And you're also definitely gonna have to be underprepared for a lot of situations. All of these things are amazing skills to have in any game mode in PUBG. One-man squads might be basically the hardest thing you can do in the game, but even if you just put a few hours of one-man squads in a week, you'll definitely improve. And I personally would recommend trying to put like an hour of one-man squads in to any session of PUBG that you have. Nothing is going to improve your fragging power or your success rate at hot drops like one-man squads. It is the number one best place to practice fragging out and winning those hot drops. So again, the main things you're practicing here are instantly pushing, hot dropping, fast target transition, and having to react under pressure. And also just generally, if you're in a fight in one-man squads, you have to be able to get the fight over with much faster. You have to be able to dispose of each player very quickly in order to get the squad wipe, and that has its own benefit when it comes to effectively defeating opponents in other game modes. And that brings us on to number 5, full send solos. So when it comes to solos, I know it's not for everybody, but the thing is, if you want to improve at this game and you want to start grinding with specific intentions to improve, you don't want to have to wait around for people to be available to start grinding. You want to just start putting the reps in. And the great thing about solos is you can just grind and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. So if you're practicing something specific, if you just want to see how many kills you can get, you can be super reckless, and if you're dead, you've not just ruined the match for your whole team, it's just you. So just re-queue and do it again. So I think solos is potentially really underutilized by a lot of players that are trying to improve, because I get that it can be frustrating, but the thing is, you can just queue for another game and just play again. This allows you to be so aggressive and to take a lot of risks. So what I personally do in solos a lot of the time is just send it. And when a lot of players say send it, they mean they're just going to go for kills. We're just going to move fast. I mean send it. I mean, whatever gun you land on, use it to kill somebody. Fly in, go out in the blue to get kills. If you hear a gunshot, go towards it. If you see a guy in a field, try and drive by him. All of the most reckless, most aggressive plays you can think of, just go for it. What are you so concerned about? You're playing solo. Like, if you have no teammates to let down, why not just push yourself to the limit? This is where you can get careless. This is where you can get reckless and really start testing things out. You don't always have to be doing everything by the rules to be successful in PUBG. You always make the most progress as a player when you're testing yourself, when you're putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. You can't just get to a certain skill level, then get comfortable and then stop testing yourself. This game gets super fun when you put yourself in really difficult situations, and solos can be a great opportunity to do that. If you just fly in, hot drop, and push absolutely everything, never play for position, and if you hear a gunshot, go towards it, even if it's all the way out in the blue. Try and break your kill record and start shooting for them 20 bombs. Remember, if you fail, it's just you. Just leave and re-queue. It's not like squads where you have to wait around for the rest of your teammates to be done before you can re-queue, and you might have ruined the fun for everybody else. If you have some spare time or you can't get a squad together, just give solos a try and start sending it. Don't play for the win, just freaking push everything. Number 6, play for the win. Now, if you're a big PUBG grinder, if you've been playing since near release, or even if you have a few hundred hours in the game, it might already have become a meme to you to play for the win, or maybe not. Playing for the win is something that some players do way too much of, and when I say too much of, I mean in order to keep getting better at the game, you need to do things that challenge your mechanical skill as well as your tactical skill, and if you just play for the win, you're not testing your mechanical skills. So some players play for the win too much, some players play for the win too little. A lot of good players never try hard anymore because they don't need to. But personally, I believe that even if you're a really experienced player, there's always some benefit from time to time to just really try hard and really playing for the win. If you've been playing for a long time now, you know how to win at this game, you know how it goes. But I'll just go over it real quick for anyone that might be new to PUBG. I personally like to play a lot of Erangel. So if I'm gonna super try hard, the thing I'm most likely gonna do is drop in a vehicle, drive somewhere far from the flight path with a lot of loot, get all my loot in that one place so I don't have to do it again, go to the edge of the zone on phase 1, and then on phase 2 start playing the middle. If I feel like I can start killing players to clear the middle out to make the late game easier, then I will, but that always depends on the terrain. Sometimes you might be sweating it out holding a house, or sometimes it might be really easy to just start clearing players out and making your life easy, so all you have to do is hold people from the zone. Whatever playing for the win means, it's always good to practice that skill set. Even though you know how to do it, sometimes we can all get a little bit rusty at playing for the win. If you have a 20+ kill game and you've just been fragging out, you might want to clutch that win and make that a chicken dinner. And if all you've been doing is just fragging out and pushing everything, there's always a chance you might be too careless. I personally feel like playing for the win teaches me when I need to be a little bit more reserved, when I need to be a little bit more cautious just to clutch the win. Sometimes if I'm just focusing on improving my mechanical skill, I'm always pushing everything, I'm always super aggressive, and sometimes it gives me like impulses to do dangerous things that might throw a game. Just every now and then during a PUBG session, throwing in a sweaty try-hard game where we clutch the win and play super tactical, just doing that every once in a while just helps keep those strategies fresh in my mind, so that when I need to clutch a win, it's fresh to me and I make the right decision. Whereas if everything in my like recent memory or whatever, my recent muscle memory of a gamer is pure aggression, then I might be more likely to throw in the end game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you found some of this useful. Thanks for stopping by. And until next time, I'll see you in the comments or on stream. Have a good one.